Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting is called to order. Please stand and we'll have the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we officially get into the business of the city and on this agenda, I just have to tell all of you department heads what a wonderful job you did during the snow apocalypse. Y'all have done a great job cleaning the streets, and I know each and every one of these departments have had issues from the snow. So I thank you for what you've done last week, and I know that there were times that it was hard to get to work, but y'all have plowed through, and we just applaud you for what you've done last week. So thank you. You went above and beyond. We'll get started with our agenda. 1.2, the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen held on January the 19th, 2021, and the special meeting held on February the 3rd, 2021. Are there any corrections? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, second by Alderman Green. No corrections? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.1, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 20-24 on a third and final reading, or ordinance rescinding ordinance 13-13 in its entirety, and amending Title 18 of the Springfield Municipal Code entitled Water and Wastewater by rescinding Chapter 3 entitled Sewage Disposal in its entirety and substituting a new Chapter 3 entitled Sewage Disposal to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. We have a motion to discuss by Alderman Hubbard and a second by Vice Mayor Harris. Are there any questions on this third and final reading? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.2, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 21-01 on a first reading, a ordinance amending the fiscal year 2021's annual budget for the city of Springfield by amending certain general funds and utility fund operating budgets. Do we have a motion to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, a second by Alderman Arnold. Questions? Oh, yes, we have to read it. Thank you. Ms. Brickles, you do a great job correcting me.
Ordinance 21-01, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2021 annual budget for the city of Springfield by amending certain general fund and utility fund operating budgets. Whereas it is necessary to amend the city of Springfield annual budget for fiscal year 2021 in order to meet the requirements of the city charter. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee, that the City of Springfield annual budget for fiscal year 2021 is hereby amended to make necessary changes to expenditures and revenues within the funds and departments as set forth in Exhibit A attached. All ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith are hereby rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
Thank you for reading that. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, a second by Alderman Arnold to discuss. Questions? Mr. Trotter, is your computer working? Okay. Can we have some assistance with his computer? Questions?
No comment.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad, I appreciate the physical soundness that we have in the budget, and I give you and your staff kudos for keeping us physically sound. Thank you. I think he needs to hear that.
And Ms. Crockett and all the department heads.
The money lady.
She's been working hard on today. I assume you're going to make an announcement.
I think Ryan's getting to share the exciting news.
Okay. We'll let Ron share
One
that.
of us will.
Share that news later. Any other discussion on this matter? No discussion, we're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Ms. Briggles. 2.3, discuss and possible take action on ordinance 21-02 on a first reading. Ordinance establishing the schedule of fees for the City of Springfield cemeteries by rescinding ordinance 13-07 in its entirety and substituting a new schedule of fees as set forth in Exhibit A attached. Ms. Briggles, will you please read this?
Ordinance 21-02, an ordinance establishing the schedule of fees for City of Springfield cemeteries by rescinding ordinance 13-07 in its entirety and substituting a new schedule of fees as set forth in Exhibit A attached. Whereas on June 18, 2013, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen passed ordinance 13-07, which established the schedule of fees for city cemeteries. And whereas the staff of the City of Springfield recommends a new schedule of fees for both Elmwood Cemetery and Oddfellow Cemetery for consistency in application and efficiency. And whereas Article 4, Section 13 of the Charter for the City of Springfield requires that the establishment of fees and charges be accomplished through legislative action, which must be exercised by ordinance. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. The schedule of fees for both Elmwood Cemetery and Oddfellow Cemetery is hereby established by rescinding ordinance 13-07 in its entirety and substituting a new schedule of fees to read forth as set forth in Exhibit A attached. The schedule of fees set forth in Exhibit A attached shall become effective May 1st, 2021. All ordinances, resolutions, and policies in conflict herewith are rescinded to the extent of the conflict only.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, and do we have a second? Second made by Alderman Green. Questions?
Question.
Yes,
May
sir.
I ask, Vice Mayor, what is the average cost? Are we,
This
since you're in that business there?
This raise in fees would bring it into, very much into average with the private grave diggers. Now, you got, like your Memorial Gardens, where you're proposing to raise this to 600, they're already getting 1,500 for doing that. But but now as far as your private cemeteries, private grave diggers, this would very much be in line.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Other questions? No other questions? No other discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.4, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 21-06, a resolution securing the assistance of an engineering firm to assist in the preparation and implication of the city's 2021 Community Development Block Grant application. Do we have a motion to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard and a second by Alderman Green. Questions?
Comment?
Sir?
Since I'm on the National League of Cities CBG board, I want us to get all the money that we can get. Because we,
Yes, we do.
collectively as cities of America, we've been screaming for years to make sure the federal government took care of all our infrastructure needs.
Okay.
So
Thank
apply
you.
for it, sir.
Thank you. Just some explanation as to why it has to be an outside engineering firm? Is it just by the side, the scope of it, or?
Yeah, so this is for the project, so the entire project design, and you all approved last month the resolution to support applying for the CDBG grant. If you remember, this is to upgrade the blowers
Right.
at the wastewater treatment plant. So yes, that requires, in order to design the scope of that project, that requires both an engineering firm and an administrative firm, which will be the next item on the agenda, to administer the grant.
Is this being put out for bid, or is this?
No, these are, the construction will eventually.
Yes, but the outside firms.
The outside firms, CDBG is treated differently under state law, and you can target, I believe it's 5 firms, and ask for a response. And so we solicited to 5 firms, and these are the ones that were evaluated and chosen.
And at what cost? Any idea? Is that in here?
Comment, Madam Chief?
I did not see it.
I don't think,
You put it in there.
no, okay, it's not in the attachment, but I could get that. If you wanted to delay a month, look at the cost, we could do that. We've used
I was
Griggs and
just wondering ballpark if you had any idea. what it
Okay.
was.
Mr. Beers might be able to answer that.
I don't have that information either.
Okay.
Mr. Martin. I was searching like you were to see if I could find that, but I don't have that with me at this time.
I certainly have no problem with it, but I would ask staff to email the board.
Sure.
As to what these costs would be.
It may be in what Lisa has that she signed, the waiter, and there's another code in there.
Okay.
You wanna? She can look for that now.
Yeah. Do you by any chance have that in,
We
what was
think
the
it's in your packet.
documentation?
Oh, is it?
No, in that orange one.
Give us just a second, I think we may have located or know where it's at.
It doesn't have an amount.
Okay.
Okay. More discussion on this? No more questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
You'll email us that.
I will.
Thank you. 2.5, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 2107, a resolution securing the assistance of an administrative firm to assist in preparing an administrative of the city's 2021 Community Development Block Grant application. Do we have a motion to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard. And do we have a second to discuss? Second made by Alderman Trotter. Questions, discussion? Who would like to go first?
I would like to go with another comment.
Sure.
Last year, in our committee, small cities suffer, especially the small cities around a major city like Nashville, because they're sucking up just about all of the CDBG grants. So I want us to push and try to get our fair share of it.
Okay. Other questions, discussion? No other questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.6, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 21-08, a resolution declaring certain property surplus and authorizing the disposal of such property. Do we have a motion to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, as second by Vice Mayor Harris. Any questions on the surplus disposal? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.7, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 21-09 on a first reading, a resolution annexing approximately 15.3 acres of property owned by Clay Jones Construction LLC located in the 9th Civil District, including a portion of a right-of-way of Wallace Road, approximately 0.46 acres. Do we have a motion made by Alderman Gregg to discuss and a second by Vice Mayor Harris? City Manager, Mr. Martin.
Sure. So most of you know annexations have changed over the last few years, and the ones that are done by request,
Oh, sorry.
We don't normally.
well, not a resolution.
Not on resolution,
Yeah,
it's ordinance.
it's not an ordinance.
Which
Okay,
is kind of,
we stopped and looked.
which is kind of unique, because even though this is resolution, we do it by 3 readings. That's the state law, that's a unique quirk and provision in state law, so we do this resolution by 3 readings. A plan of services is included in your packet, detailing the availability and intention of the city to provide the services to the newly annexed land. Mr. Brewer has signed that as directed by the Planning Commission, and Mr. Jones has agreed to the plan of services we provided as indicated by his signature. The property is assigned a zoning classification upon annexation, which is RS10 is what this zoning classification will be. And I believe the preliminary layout we've received includes 44 lots, 44 residential lots. The Planning Commission has approved this, and we recommend for your approval. One difference I wanted to notate, if you look on your Exhibit A, on the map itself, it says 17.5 acres. Actually, when it was surveyed, and Mr. Brewer can correct me if I'm wrong, but when it was during the survey when it was discovered that it's actually 15.3 acres. So we're, with that and the right-of-way, the total annexation is approximately 15.76 acres. And it is contiguous and does adjoin the current city limits.
Okay, thank you for the explanation.
Question?
Questions? Yes, Mr. Harris?
So on this particular piece of property that he's asking to be annexed into the city, that's just on this property he owns. Is anyone else being annexed in that's not currently city?
No, just this piece, just this parcel.
Okay. Are there any houses on this, around this?
Vacant currently. I believe there's a barn or something on, that's gonna be taken down, but
There are a few that
It's
are
dirt.
on Memorial, the Chapman properties.
So will this incorporate sewer, everything? Is that what they're asking for, the full 9 yards?
yeah.
Any other questions? No other questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.8, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 21-10 on a first reading. A resolution annexing approximately 5 acres of property owned by Equity Trust Company located in the 9th Civil District, including a portion of the right-of-way of Laura Road, approximately .17 acres. Do we have a motion to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Gregg and a second by Alderman Green. You want to start with this one?
Sure, I'll just, very similar to the last one, this is another request for annexation. This does not involve any other parcels except for the owner and the owner's authorized agent for this parcel. It is contiguous to and backs up to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Park. The proposed development here on this parcel is a multi-residential development. The owner developer has agreed to put a tie-in with the walking trail at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Park that will add value to his development, but also protect the park. We wouldn't want people jumping the fence, to use the park. We want them to use the park, but we want them to do so through a certain way. So the developer has agreed to do that as well. You can see the plan of services attached. It's substantially similar to the previous one.
How many proposals, houses?
Mr. Brewer's coming to the mic to answer some questions.
Mr. Harris, the 5 acres rezoned MRO would allow 72 multi-residential units.
And by units, or is this apartments, or?
The-
Don't know either.
This particular developer has indicated that he wants to do sales of the units, but it can be it can be apartments, but any MRO can be apartments. But this particular developer has indicated that he wants to do sales of units. I have indicated to the developer the board's desire for home ownership within our community.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Hubbard?
I guess my concern is the tie-in with MLK Park. I mean, is it gonna be designed where it's still kind of controlled?
Yes, sir, we haven't gotten to that stage yet, of course. We're just,
Okay.
they have agreed to do a walking trail from their development into Martin Luther King Jr. Park. Our intention is to have it similar to any of our other greenway-type trails within the city limits of Springfield.
But specifically, controlled by us,
On our part of the park.
on our part of
Yeah.
the park, see. It's just the premier park of
Yes,
Springfield,
sir.
and
Yes, sir, we would
we just
wind
don't
up.
want to open it up where it can be just.
Yes, sir. We would wind up with maintaining this walking trail in our park. Their homeowners association would wind up maintaining the walking trail on their property.
But the same stipulation of closing, park closing and all this stuff would be?
They should respect that, yes.
Oh, okay, all right, that's where I'm concerned.
Mr. Trotter?
So this could probably be condos, like, is that what you're saying?
Well,
72, sale units.
72 sales units, they will not be condominiums, they will be classified as townhomes. Townhomes are allowed to get first-time buyer financing where a condominium is not. So any of our multi-residential developments that are for sales are now being designated as townhomes for that very specific purpose.
Is that, this property is currently in the county,
Yes, sir, but it is within our urban growth boundary.
but them asking for it to be in the city is for the reason of the services we offer and thinks the property would be more attractive? Is that,
Correct.
okay?
You know,
And then
sanitary sewer,
to follow up with what Mr. Hubbard asked, you said on their part of it, they would have to maintain the greenway. But it would have to be maintained in the same fashion that all the other greenway is maintained. Is that correct or not correct?
it should be, yes, sir. I mean, they're gonna put in a nice walking trail, used by 72 private individual owners. I would certainly hope that they would keep it up, you know, just like
But
they're
it's
gonna
not-
supposed to be
It's not
keeping.
actual greenway of the cities.
No, sir.
Okay.
It would provide a specific indefinite access to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Park that would provide essentially a sidewalk or walking trail, as Mr. Brewer puts it, to the park to guide those who want to use the park from that development onto our property in a way that is consistent with the way we'd like them to enter.
The planning commission was in favor of this?
Yes, they voted in a favorable fashion. And like Mr. Martin said, this would provide, for that development, it would provide a very safe access as opposed to having to get out and either walk down or drive down Laura Road and then down South Main and then into the park. This would provide them the opportunity to access the park safely.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna be a devil's advocate, but, you know,
Mr. Trotter, you're
as
next.
long as it's understood that this is not their private park per se. 'Cause I
They-
know-
They
I know
understand that.
What ranges the townhouses, 180s, 190, 200?
I have no idea at the present time, but, you know, most of them in present market values are going very close to 225 at the starter level. You can rapidly see them go up to the 350 or more. Darrell?
More in the 300 to 350 range.
More 350 to 300, 350 range.
Well, long as it's understood up front, this is a public park.
Yes.
Okay? And we know how money want to talk sometimes in a bad way, okay? I'm just being real, okay? That's a public park. As long as we understand that, I'm okay with it.
Mr. Trotter?
No, that was a question I was going to ask, the price range.
Yes, Mr. Harris?
I guess my question would be possibly to staff. Is there anything on our long-range site in this South Main area that the city is planning to do, or, because what, I mean, by this being resolution, are we going to have a public hearing on this?
Yes, there's a public,
So when we get to this public hearing part, we're probably going to be hit with the same thing as everything else that comes before us in this area of town. And I think that the citizens of that area also going to want to know what our future plans are for sidewalks or any other development as far as the city is concerned in this area. I'm all for growth. I have no problem with that. I want to see houses, developments come. But we've also got to have the infrastructure in these areas to accommodate the increased sales and traffic that's going to be out there. Do we have anything on our long-range plan for that?
what's on the range for right now is the final phase of the Greenway, which right now it ends at Bransford, and to carry it to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Park. That is the final phase, and that would upgrade, depending on how that's designed, and it has not been designed. Mr. Moore and I have kicked around some options on design, on routes for that, but depending on how that's designed, that would dramatically upgrade South Main Street, the sidewalks through there. As far as Laura Road is concerned, we have no plans to upgrade the sidewalks or infrastructure.
And the entrance to this development would be off of Law Road?
Yes, sir. Now,
So they have to
they're
turn
gonna
off
have
of
to.
South Main on the Law Road?
They will have to upgrade Law Road to our standard, because it's just outside the city, so they'll have to widen it some. They'll have to put curb gutter, possibly sidewalk on one side of the street. Mr. Moore and I have had an extensive discussion about Law Road. Law Road, even though it is a very narrow road, it is actually a collector. There is more and more traffic coming from 49 to Main Street every day. So it needs to be, at a minimum, a 24-foot wide road all the way eventually over to 49. The developer will have to do a traffic study. The Planning Commission brought this up. They'll have to do a traffic study to determine how to best handle the increase in traffic from this development at the intersection of Law Road and South Main. I don't, as an engineer, my first inclination is to say that it may turn into a three-way stop. I don't foresee actually a need for a traffic signal. But we'll see what the traffic study says, and we'll make those recommendations according to.
My comments to this is nothing toward this developer. I mean, I'm just talking about the area in general, because we have had a lot more inquiries. We've rezoned some property out there. We've done some different things. I think, is it Mr. Hubbard's ward or Mr. Trotter's ward?
Mr. Trump.
Mr. Trotter's ward. And we are gonna have to look at this as a city. If we keep adding houses and other residences out there, South Main's gonna be a busy area, and there is some it's legitimate what these people ask us when they come for.
You're exactly correct, Mr. Harris. Over the last 24 years, there has been our population itself has pushed for a multimodal transportation system, including walking and cars and biking. So there was a time that we just drove everywhere, but that's not happening now. People are looking, to be able to walk to certain places, looking for a walkability to businesses, and they're looking to be able to exercise for their health. So yes, we really do need to look at it as bigger than this for a multimodal system.
Mr. Hubbard?
Now, one of the main issues would be a sidewalk from 22nd all the way out to MLK. At least one side of the road. So that's something we have to really consider.
We get the Greenway.
You're right. And let the Greenway probably be
Yes.
that.
That's always been our intent, was to do that Greenway all the way to Martin Luther
And
King.
that would be very good.
Yeah. Other questions while he's,
And I'd just like to say,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Harris, both of these annexations are resolutions, but state law requires us to read them 3 times like an ordinance, and there will be a public hearing at both second readings for Mr. Jones's and for Equity Trusts as well.
And as I said, I've been here since 2016, and the group of folks off of South Main has come before us a few times in public hearing. And I think it's time as a city that we need to look at that area. If we're gonna allow to annex and change rezoning laws, that we need to put some power in the punch and not just make it look like we're sitting here ignoring what their concerns are, because it is increased traffic. And they're due the same thing any other part of the city would be. So I think it's something we need to look at in the future to come,
absolutely.
as we want all areas of the city to grow. But,
And we can talk about that when we do planning again. That is key, watching where we're getting these new developments and planning for our future. So thank you for pointing that out, because
I think that people will become less hesitant to allow things to grow in their area if they see that we as a city are investing in that area also to make it a more accommodating and accessible place for everyone.
other questions while Mr. Brewer's at the mic? Thank you, Mr. Brewer.
Thank you, Mayor.
Other discussion? No other discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.9, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 21-11, a resolution accepting the bond from Turner and Associate Realtor, Inc. in the amount of $30,625 in order to guarantee the completion of streets and drainage improvements in the Brown Glade subdivision. Motion made by Alderman Green, a second by Alderman Hubbard to discuss. Questions? No questions? If there's no questions, we're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 2.10, discuss and possible take action on Resolution 21-12, a resolution accepting a bond for incomplete site work in the total amount of $4,000, guaranteeing all stormwater infrastructure and executing stormwater maintenance agreement and all remaining construction improvements per plans and specifications on the Dollar General site located at 1017 Glade Road. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard to discuss. Do we have a second? Second made by Alderman Green. Questions on this?
Comments?
Yes, sir.
I stopped in a little store it's a cute little store. And, and I think it's centrally located. You got several houses around it and stuff.
Dollar General's invested a lot in their community.
Yeah.
Any questions or discussion?
Gonna be one in heaven.
We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change the vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Discuss and possible take action on Resolution 21-13, a resolution accepting an irrevocable letter of credit from Poplar Ranch Ventures LLC in the amount of $15,000 in order to guarantee the completion of streets and drainage improvements in Eden Point subdivision Phase 1. Motion made by Alderman Hubbard and second by Alderman Green to discuss. Questions?
Question for.
Yes, sir.
Just in general, is there more than one phase planned for this, Mr. Brewer? Do you know?
Yes, sir. This Phase 1 is maybe 12 lots, and this particular bond is just to cover the final course. They've done everything else. They're working on the second phase, which is another 20 lots, or another 13 lots, for a total of 30 lots total. So, yes, they're putting the infrastructure in right now, and when they get closer to having their infrastructure completed, then they will come to us with a bond to record their second phase of the subdivision. As a matter of fact, the Planning Commission approved Phase 2 of Eden Point at the last Planning Commission meeting.
Does Phase 2 complete their?
It completes it, yes. This is a cul-de-sac subdivision, maximum of 30 lots.
Okay. I was just curious.
Any other questions while he's at the mic? Thank you. Any more discussion? We're ready for a vote.
Yellow Bell Town.
Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.1, discuss and possible take action on the adjustments of the retail electric rates of the Springfield Electric Department due to the wholesale fuel cost adjustments by the Tennessee Valley Authority. Do we have a motion to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, and do we have a second? Second by Alderman Trotter. Do you have good news for us, Steve?
I have news that it's gonna be 0.5%, going up 0.5%.
Okay,
So we will hardly see that.
okay,
We'd like to get back around.
all right. Any questions? Discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.2, discuss and possible take action on the adjustment of the monthly gas rates for the Springfield Gas Department. Do we have a motion? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard and a second by Alderman Trotter to discuss. Greg? Do you have, which direction are you going?
We do have good news this month. The purchase gas adjustment is down 5.99%.
Good.
Good man.
We're happy with that this time of year.
You're right.
We do harass these gentlemen, but this is a pass-through, so they really don't have any control, even though we harass them both. I harass both of them. Any discussion? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.3, discuss and possible take action on the submitted offers to purchase surplus real estate. Do we have a motion to discuss? Motion made by Alderman Hubbard, and a second. Do we have a second to discuss? Second by Alderman Gregg.
One comment.
City Manager,
So one inaccuracy in your packet is that the proceeds of this sale will go to the water fund. It's actually the wastewater fund is where the proceeds will go. This is a, excuse me, a former wastewater lift station that's been decommissioned for quite some time. And it was put out, we declared it surplus probably 18 months ago or so. You all did, and we disposed of it in the manner of the tax sale properties. And so this offer has not been countered for the last 30 days, and so is our highest offer proposed to you all.
okay, questions? Yes, sir? Yeah.
Well, I definitely support selling to my friend,
Yes,
Mr. Clay.
okay. Any discussion? No discussion, we're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes. 3.4,
Motion passes 7-0.
I'm running right on by you. This lady does a great job keeping me straight.
You try to get home. I'm dead tired.
Mayor's watching the clock.
Trying to get within that time frame. 3.4, discuss and possible take action on the appointments of the various boards and commissions. Do we have a motion to discuss? Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris, a second by Alderman Hubbard. These appointments were in your packet. Any questions? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Guess I probably should have read this. Audience. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. 3.5, discuss and possible take action to renew the retail recruitment contract with Retail Coach for an additional 1-year term. Motion made by Vice Mayor Harris, a second by Alderman Arnold. Okay, Mr. Martin, our city manager.
All right, first off, I want to apologize. Austin Farmer, who is our retail recruitment specialist that works with us from the Retail Coach, is not able to be here tonight. He had travel plans for the meeting last week, but of course we postponed due to the weather, so he is not able to be here tonight. He's had some issues of his own with power in Texas, but this is a proposal to extend the Retail Coach agreement for another year. This would be the 3rd year of our agreement. We have a lot of momentum with the Retail Coach right now. I have shared some information previously with you all about some things that we're working on, and we want to continue that momentum. They're doing a good job for us. They're even working with some people here privately that have liked their work and are helping market sites and put site profiles together. So we're excited about what we have going on. And so if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
Okay,
Same
Mr.
rate,
Harris?
correct. Same rate as it has been, Mr. Martin. Same
It is the
rate.
same rate, $30,000 is what we had previously budgeted. We'll take care of that.
Yes, sir.
Were they instrumental in getting the mic and Jerry?
They were, so they've been involved in a few things. Jersey Mike's is one of those that
Jersey Mike's, right.
they were, and we're excited about having that addition to the city of Springfield and looking forward to many more.
Time frame when they are expecting to open? Anybody heard that?
In the next few weeks, I believe.
Next few weeks. Oh, great. Awesome. Sales tax dollars.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
what's going at the old Applebee's, what's going in there?
Starbucks,
Starbucks, okay.
yeah,
So that
On one
is,
side.
on one side.
okay.
Hopefully, Mr. Boer will have someone on the other side very shortly that he will announce. He spoke.
Verizon? Okay.
I'm not sure that was previously public information.
That's exactly what Jim Moore told me.
Your word is gold.
I keep going for the ticket.
Get this other job.
But,
Okay,
one thing
back
though,
to our meeting, please.
speaking of Jim Moore, I did talk to him about the retail coach, because I know that they work closely, and Jim is obviously a huge driver in growth here in Springfield, and he is all for renewing this contract. He said that they've been a great partner to him, and he's excited because of Starbucks coming in. It is a potential beacon, right? You get a Starbucks, and then other franchises or other corporations typically follow that. So he thinks that they'll be able to do a lot more now that Starbucks is here, and he's excited to see what would happen over the next 12 months.
Well, and Jim Moore spoke today at Kiwanis, and he said exactly what you're talking about, that other companies, instead of doing their own research, will follow, and, you know, we're looking forward to many more successes with Retail Coach. I know this has been just tremendous for us. And, yes, sir.
And I really want to commend him on his community entrepreneurship, because he had to sit back and wait, and then he finally got his chance, and he's exploding. So I support him 110%.
We appreciate all the people that are making a difference in
Definitely.
Springfield and Robertson County. So, yes, thank you, Jim Moore, and everyone else that's making a difference. Any other comments and questions? Can't wait to see what's gonna happen next. We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. I'm being told that we need to go back to 2.4. Mr. Martin?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt
It's okay.
the next item here, but we need to amend the resolution 2.4. It inaccurately reads a different engineering firm than the one that received the selection. And it needs to read Griggs and Maloney, and I mentioned that earlier, and the resolution says something else. So
Good
if
catch.
someone would like to make the, amendment to amend that to select Griggs and Maloney as the engineering firm.
We've got to add it to the agenda first.
Okay.
If someone would make the motion to reconsider item 2.4,
Okay.
and then once the motion is made to reconsider, then there can be a motion made to amend, and then we'll vote on it again.
Okay.
Move to reconsider item 2.4.
Okay. Motion made by Alderman Harris, second by Alderman Hubbard.
Take a voice vote.
Voice vote. Are you good with the voice vote? Or you want to take?
I can vote.
Okay. You can vote from your computer? Yeah, we're going to vote from the
Do
computer.
they need to state their amendment?
No.
To reconsider item 2.4 on the
Okay.
agenda.
All right.
No, somebody
I need to
needs
push amend, or?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Brickles and Ms. Barty. Keep us legal. Keep us in line.
Who should it be?
Griggs and Maloney.
At this point, we're just voting to reconsider.
Right.
No, you're voting on the amendment.
Yeah, because there was a motion to amend.
Then we have to make the motion.
Don't we have to vote on the motion
reconsider
to
first.
amend?
You have to vote on the motion to reconsider first.
Right.
Okay.
And then, once that vote's taken, then there'll be a motion to amend,
Okay.
and then vote.
Okay, motion to consider.
Okay, let's vote for that.
All right, you ready for us? Okay. Motion to consider. If you'll vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, 2.4 is back on the,
Hold on, I'm gonna put it back in there.
okay. Just give her a second to type it in. Glad y'all caught that before we left.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Harris made the motion. Who made the second?
Mr. Hubbard.
Okay.
Okay, now we can vote.
Now we'll move to amend that we change the firm from Gresham Smith to Griggs and Maloney, is that correct?
Yeah.
On
Okay.
item 2.4.
Motion has been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the typo? Okay. We're ready to vote on making this amendment. Ms. Brickles, are you ready? Okay, we're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. We're ready for our consent doc.
Without objection, I move to take it as one.
Okay,
Second.
all right. Any discussion? Motion's been made, and second's been made by Alderman Trotter. The motion was made by Vice Mayor Harris. Any questions? No questions? We're ready for a vote. Anyone like to change their vote? Please record the votes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. You've done an excellent job tonight keeping us all straight, especially me. We're ready for our city manager's report. City Manager Ryan Martin.
Thank you. So first, echo your comments earlier. We want to appreciate our public works crews and all of our departments that pitched in, parks, water department, gas department, cemeteries departments that pitched in to assist with the road clearing. And the water department had quite a few main breaks. That was one of our major issues last week, and they were out. I said last week that the worst than being cold is being wet and cold, and they were both last week. So we really appreciate what those employees do in service to the city of Springfield. To follow up on one other item from last month, your counteroffer to Doc Keys was accepted. We're working on closing that transaction now. That was on the 9th Avenue building, and we're also working to close the other transactions as well. Our bond refunding sale went great this morning. We had initially told you all that we anticipated saving approximately $1.8 million doing that. It wound up being a little over $2 million. So that's a tremendous amount of savings. Most of that, of course, is in the wastewater fund where we need it most. And so we're really excited about that. We're working on finalizing the details of our Independence Day event or July 4th celebration that will be coming later. The event will likely be held at the fairgrounds. We're looking at moving locations this year, so we're working on those details, and we'll keep you informed on the logistics there. We have re-engaged MTAS to perform a water and sewer rate study this year as we work on budget. We did the rate study, 2018 is when we got the report, and this is the upcoming budget year will be the last year of those recommended rates. So we're re-engaging them because they can take a look at all of our capital improvement projects and kind of look at things long range and suggest where our rates need to be. It provides a really good sort of scientific analysis of where we can be on, or we should be on our water and sewer rates. Batson Parkway, an update on that. A few of you have asked about Batson Parkway. We're in the utility design phase currently. We've had a development in that yesterday, so we expect that to speed up. And we still plan to go to bid this summer on that. As of right now, going to bid this summer and expect construction to begin this fall. We do expect that to be about an 18 to 24 month project. And then finally, Mr. Harris, you brought it up, and it was in my report to give too. We're getting inundated with growth right now, all over the city and outside the city. We're looking at, the 2 annexation requests we've had tonight. There are probably 2 or 3 more that are going to follow those, as well as development proposals inside the city and in Coopertown. And of course, we service the water for Coopertown, and we have about 1,000 units that have been requested out there. So what we have begun doing internally is the discussion of how do we manage all of this? And infrastructure-wise, we already know that our sewer rates are really high. And so as we develop inside the city and increase the pressure on our wastewater system and our wastewater plant, where we're going to have to spend the next round of money, that's where that CDBG money is proposed to be spent, we're going to have to look at some ways, some creative ways to take the burden off the ratepayers and the taxpayers. And so we're doing that research, we're checking with some other cities, and so we'll bring that to you once that is complete, but we're gonna have a lot of infrastructure upgrades that are gonna be needed in the next few years with all of this development. Getting water out to the Coopertown area is a challenge in itself that we've had to get creative with a solution there. So growth is, we're excited about the growth. I don't want you to hear me say that we're negative about the growth and that we don't like the growth. We appreciate it. We're really excited about what that means for the city of Springfield and our area.
We have some water to sell.
And we do have some water to sell. And we have plenty of water to sell, we just don't have a way to get it to them out there. That's our biggest issue, that we're gonna have to upgrade that infrastructure to get water out there to support 1,000 lots, as well as our sidewalks, as you mentioned, Mr. Harris, and our wastewater system, our wastewater plant inside the city limits. So be on the lookout for that. We're doing some research, and we're having some discussions, and we'll bring hopefully some proposals or some recommendations to you all in the near future.
Okay? Any questions? Yes,
I
Mr. Harris.
would like for us to, you announced, or it was announced to us last month because of COVID that we're not going to do a strategic planning session this time. I think we need to revisit that.
Okay.
And that's just my opinion from this board. I mean, we gather in this room and we have this monthly meeting. I don't see any reason why we can't. And it, not necessarily with this year's budget, if that's going to be a hindrance or whatever.
Yeah.
But I still think there's items we need to discuss
How about,
outside of this board, well, outside of a regular meeting. And I want to be COVID conscious and
Sure.
certainly cautious about that, but I don't necessarily see
how
a
about we
reason.
push it to the fall after we get done with budget and COVID?
And that's fine, but I just think we
But I
need to-
totally agree with you.
Or we could also do a sort of a strategic planning light, if you will, and maybe not have a facilitator come in, maybe us have some discussion points and something where, the challenge with doing strategic planning this year was because of the COVID restrictions,
Right, I understand.
where we have to allow, we can only allow a certain amount of public in, but we have to make sure they can hear and see. And the way we do strategic planning just isn't conducive to that with the breakout groups and with groups discussions and that sort of thing. So maybe we can
I
structure it a
fully-
little differently.
I fully support the way that we've done it, but I think it's also time that this board and these people, we need to sit down and discuss instead of having somebody come in and just tell us what we need to think about. And we do need to think about those things, but there are other issues I think we need to look at and try to have some type of plan at some point this year.
Let us work on that. I think, Mayor, it would be a good time to go in and do that before budget. I mean, if
Okay.
there's something if there are priorities that we need to look at before budget, then maybe we can look at doing something in April before our work session in May. So
If you think you can
I think
manage with the budget.
we'll strategize and we will try to put a plan together and
And I'm not trying to put you on the spot tonight, I just didn't think about it. I meant to say something to you about it after last month's meeting, but it slipped my mind.
I
That's a good point.
think it's a good idea. In January, it's like, I've said this many times, like the pedal hit the floor on growth.
Yeah.
And we have been,
In our past meetings, we have not, certainly the public, we encourage them to come, but it's not a crowd that has been unmanageable. The number of people that do come, so.
I agree.
Well, we need to be planning every year because the growth is going to be this way for the
That's right.
next few years.
And we're excited about it.
And we need the growth, and we need the sales tax dollars, and we need the retail, so we don't have to go outside of Robertson County. So, yes, it's very important to plan. Yes, sir.
Yeah, sadly, I hate to report, and some of you might not know, Mr. Raymond Woodard will be funeralized Saturday from 11 to 12 is the visitation, and the funeral will be at the center.
10 to 11.
10 to 11, funeral starts at 12. He'll also have a visitation from 1 to 6 at First Baptist Cheatham Street. This guy, Friday, this guy was a knockout guy.
He was.
And,
He'd be
He'd
missed.
be missed, and he really paid his dues as one of Springfield's greatest sons. So we got to give him
What
kudos.
He
they've
helped a lot of
released
you.
says 11 to 12
Yeah, 11 to 12, yeah, you're right.
You're right.
on Saturday.
He helped a lot of students at Cheatham Park and various schools around Robertson County, and he will be missed. And our condolences to his family.
And let me say this too, he and Coach Thomas will be the only two coaches that will be going into the Genesee Hall of Fame for winning 2 state championships in the same year, 93, wrestling and football. So
Thank you.
you put us on the map.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.